All right, we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Valerie Smith. I'm a staff member in the Office of Admission, coming to you live from my home in Evanston, Illinois. And as much as we wish that we could welcome you to our campus here in Evanston right now, we're so appreciative that you're taking the time to learn a little bit more about Northwestern digitally today. So I will dive right in with some basic info about the university here in a moment. But first, I would like to let my co-presenter and really the star of the show take a minute to introduce herself.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Kandise Blanc, and I'm a fifth-year senior on the dual degree track. I study creative writing in the College of Arts and Sciences and opera performance in the Bean School of Music. I also have a minor in psychology, so pretty much I just study a lot of different things. I'm originally from Long Beach, California, so just south of Los Angeles, but like Valerie, I'm also coming to you from Evanston, Illinois right now. And in the admissions office, I serve as a senior admissions counselor. But one of my favorite things that I'm a part of on campus is our a cappella community. I'm a part of a co-ed a cappella group known as the X Factors.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kandise. Kandise really is going to have a lot of great insight for you about the student experience on campus. So that you know a little bit about me, I am also a Northwestern graduate at the master's level. I came to Northwestern for graduate school and have a degree from the School of Education and Social Policy. So between the two of us, we hope to give you a lot of exciting information and insight about what it is like to study and live and be a community member at Northwestern. But let's start with the very basic info. And this might be old news to some of you, but I think it's important to keep everyone on the same page as we learn a little bit more about who are Northwestern students and what does this community entail here. So Northwestern is a private research university. We have about 8,000 undergraduates on campus here in Evanston, just north of the city of Chicago. And when you hear research university, you might think of a range of different images or mission statements that are associated with that. And really what that means for the experience at Northwestern is that everyone on this campus is committed in some significant way to contributing and exploring and being innovative in their field of study. So we will certainly talk about undergraduate research and all of the opportunities that you have to specialize in your field of study. But what I really want you to know about Northwestern is that in addition to that specialization, that research, that technical focus, we are very much at our core a community that really values the liberal arts and really values interdisciplinary learning. That's a term you will hear a lot as you continue to do your research about Northwestern. We know that you are coming from a wide range of backgrounds and places and with a whole range of interests that you want to accomplish in your college experience. And Northwestern is a place that will let you explore all of those and more in one four-year experience. So more than anything else, what I hope you take away from our stories and our introduction here today is that there is not one singular Northwestern experience. We are not a campus where students come here and they fit a very particular mold for what they have to accomplish in 4 years. And that exploration, those opportunities to branch out and try new fields of study, new projects, make new friends in different places. That's really the hallmark of the experience. And that starts with a student body that I think is really excited to learn from one another. When you come to college, yes, the classes that you take matter quite a bit, but you will learn just as much from the people sitting next to you in class, from the people who live down the hall from you in your residence hall, and the people you sit next to in the dining hall. They are all your teachers just as much as your actual faculty members. So one of the ways that we facilitate a really innovative campus community is by bringing together people who have lots of different interests and backgrounds and experiences to share. So those 8,000 students are diverse in every sense of the word. They come from all over the world, and they bring with them, like I said, every conceivable background, identity, preference, belief system that you can name. When they're all together in class and outside of class learning from one another, that's really what constitutes a pretty transformational college experience and environment. So it's with that in mind, that sort of broad image of who we are as a community, that I want to start by talking a little bit about the academic experience here. So a liberal arts university and a research university, what does that actually look like for you when you come here to start to study? We organize the undergraduate academic experience here by having every student find a home in one of our 6 undergraduate schools or colleges. So starting with the largest, the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, Every Northwestern student will take a class at some point in the College of Arts and Sciences, whether or not that is your home base. Weinberg offers everything from English and creative writing to chemistry and truly everything in between. In addition to Weinberg, we have the School of Communication, which houses our traditional communication studies degrees and things like theater and dance and radio, television, and film. We have the School of Education and Social Policy, the Medill School of Journalism, the McCormick School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, and of course the Beanan School of Music. So each one of those schools is its own unique entity. They offer a unique set of academic programs. And as I said, it truly becomes a home base for most students. You will make friends and close connections with the faculty members who teach in that school. But when we think about 6 schools, it's really important to know that I am not talking about 6 distinct campuses spread throughout the city of Evanston. Physically, our campus has a very traditional central academic space on campus. And while the 6 schools exist separately, you are in no way siloed. You are not limited to studying and existing in just one. So you'll have your home base, and you'll also have all sorts of freedom to choose different majors, minors, and programs, or simply take classes and explore within and among all 6 schools. So Kandise, do you want to share a little bit more from the student perspective about what that actually looks like?
Most definitely. So as I mentioned before, I'm a dual degree student. So I have my home school of not only the College of Arts and Sciences, but also the Beanan School of Music. But I've been able to take courses outside of my specializations. In the College of Arts and Sciences, I've taken courses in ethnic studies. I've taken both French and Italian courses, linguistics and Slavic studies. And in the Beanan School of Music outside of opera, I've taken courses in ethnomusicology and conducting. But even outside of my 2 home schools, I've actually had the opportunity to take a course in all of our 6 undergraduate schools. I took a math course in the McCormick School of Engineering, a podcasting course in the School of Journalism, a film class in our School of Communication, and this past spring I actually took one of our most popular courses in the School of Education and Social Policy, known as Marriage 101, Building Loving and Lasting Relationships, which is something that I still talk about and think fondly of today. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself and talking about my 5-year undergraduate experience. Many of you are probably at the beginning of your college journey. And some of you may know exactly what you want to study. I definitely fell into that category. I wanted to study creative writing and opera. And with Northwestern already having the dual degree program previously established, I was able to study all of my senses of passion with the same amount of zeal. But some of you may not know what you want to study, and that is 100% okay. Here at Northwestern, we like to call ourselves a place of discovery. So my friend Ben came to Northwestern as a chemistry major, and after taking around a year or so of chemistry courses, he realized that he didn't really like chemistry, and my friend Ben went to speak with his faculty advisor, and she recommended that he try cognitive science, something that was still sciencey, but most definitely not chemistry. And he took my friend Ben another year of cog sci courses, and he realized didn't really like science at all. He also really wasn't that good at it. So my friend Ben went to his advisor and said, okay, please help me. I don't know what I want to study. And after a pretty lengthy conversation, my friend Ben realized that the courses that he was most interested in weren't his science classes, but actually his language courses. So my friend Ben now is actually very happily a German studies major, is on track to graduate on time, and I think that just goes to show how wonderful our faculty advisors and faculty members are here at Northwestern. Here at Northwestern, we do have a 6-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, which lends itself to smaller class sizes. Around 80% of courses have 20 students or fewer. Personally, the smallest class I've ever taken was a 3-person keyboard skills class at 8 a.m., very nice and intimate. And only 2% of courses have 100 students or more. So these are typically your larger introduction style courses. So intro to psychology and intro to economics. But for any course that has even more than 40 students, the professor is required to have a separate teacher's assistant that will host a discussion section. So you'll go from that larger lecture style of maybe 100 people, and you'll have the smaller discussion of 10 to 15 students that you're able to work on smaller problem sets or maybe get help on your essays. And like I mentioned before with my friend Ben, the moment you step foot on Northwestern's campus, you have a faculty advisor. And for every additional specialization or academic concentration you add on, you'll get an additional advisor. So I have not only an opera advisor, I also have a creative writing advisor and a psychology advisor. And these are the people that really help us Northwestern students navigate the quarter system, especially if it's something that you're navigating for the first time. And I'm sure Val can talk more about the quarter system as well.
Absolutely. And I also have to say that I really resonate with Ben, realizing that a college chemistry classroom is not where he wanted to spend the majority of his time. If you love chemistry, wonderful. There is a place for you here. But if you want to come to campus and explore majors and programs that you've never even heard of, and land in something completely new, there is a space and a path for you here as well. So the quarter system is how we make all of this possible. It's how students can come to campus, explore a whole range of options, and jump from chemistry to German studies without really losing ground on a four-year path to graduation. So perhaps unsurprisingly, the quarter system splits the calendar year up into 4 quarters: summer, fall, winter, and spring. Our academic school year runs in the fall, winter, and spring quarters. So you take 3 terms of classes each year. And then most students take that 4th summer term to pursue experiential learning or professional development opportunities wherever they may be interested in doing so. In the academic year, you are typically taking 4 classes in each of those 3 quarters for a total of 12 per year. That is different than schools that operate on a semester calendar, where you take 1 set of classes in the fall and 1 set of classes in the spring. You typically take 8, maybe 10 at most classes per year on a semester calendar. So to put it simply, you're taking more classes each year at Northwestern than you would somewhere else. And some of you maybe want to X out of this YouTube Live and you think more classes to get a degree, I don't see the benefit of that. And I hear you, but I think what the draw is for Northwestern students on the quarter system is that you take more classes that just allow you to explore more and to take things you're actually interested in and really excited to do in a way that just wouldn't be possible if we were able to only offer 8 to 10 classes per student per year. So while you do take more classes in a year, you're not actually spending all that much more time in a classroom than you would be if we had a more traditional semester calendar. You're simply moving through classes and jumping between them and exploring different possibilities a little bit more quickly. A couple of myths or things that I think you should know about the quarter system right away. We don't take a semester's worth of content and squish it into a quarter, which is shorter, and hope that you can survive. But everything that we do instead is designed around this academic calendar, and classes fit very nicely in that time that is allotted for them. And as Kandise is describing, what that allows you to do is not only obtain the depth that you want in your area of study, but also to explore in academic areas that have nothing to do with that primary major or area of interest. You may not come to Northwestern expecting to start the world's next great podcast, but you might take a podcast class like Kandise did, because that's a neat way to develop some skills that you haven't done before. And it's just a fun opportunity to meet new classmates. So there's a balance that you're striking in your academic path here. One thing that we haven't talked about yet brings us all the way back to the beginning of our presentation when I mentioned that we were a liberal arts school, or that we value a liberal arts experience. If you're new to that term, what the liberal arts really does is ensure that students come to college and they are able to explore, as we've talked about, a wide range of academic programs, and that more than anything, that you learn how to learn and how to communicate and manage projects effectively in a wide range of different classrooms. How you succeed in an engineering classroom might look a little bit different than how you succeed in a radio and television and film classroom. And the goal is that you're exposed to all of these different contexts and environments. So to do that at Northwestern, we have our students work through something that we call distribution requirements. And these comprise about 1/3 of the time that you'll spend in a classroom on campus. They are not a core curriculum, and I think that's an important distinction to know. We do not hand students a set list of classes and say, hey, in order to graduate, you need to check the box on all of these. It's not standard across the student body. Instead, distribution requirements are different themed areas of study. Students come to Northwestern and they choose a few classes that are of interest to them in each of those themes, and they build their own schedule of distribution requirements. So your curriculum here is still very, very flexible, very personalized to you and what your goals might be long-term, but it does require that you get out of that bubble a little bit and that you explore something new or complementary to your primary major. And that brings us to your actual major, or that focus area. Whether you know from day one what you want that major to be, or whether you need a year or even longer to figure it out, every student will walk away at the end of the day with at least one major. And the vast majority of Northwestern students are pursuing more than one area of study. The quarter system, again, makes it quite possible to do that. So your second area of study might be a second major. It is possible in many cases to double major across our undergraduate schools. Your second area of study might be a minor or a certificate. Certificates are sort of like an academic minor. They are a smaller, more focused area of study that complements your major. But at Northwestern, they tend to be more pre-professional or skills-based in nature. So you might take a look at a certificate in the Kellogg School of Business. That's Northwestern's business school. It offers graduate degrees and undergraduate certificates. So whether you want to look at something like financial economics or managerial analytics, in addition to whatever you're studying in your primary major, that's a possibility for you. The Integrated Marketing Communications Certificate in the School of Journalism is also very, very popular. And the idea, as I hope you're getting, is that the schools are very good at working together and supporting students who want to pursue those programs even across the boundaries of that particular school or area of interest. So every student is coming to campus working very closely with an academic advising team to make this possible. And you're putting the puzzle pieces together of a unique academic plan that is yours and yours alone. And I think that's the hallmark of the Northwestern experience, is that you come in, you have the support that you need to explore those interests and ultimately define a really personalized plan that's going to support the goals that you have for yourself in the long run. We've talked a lot about classroom learning. And the one other piece of the academic experience that's really just as important here is experiential learning. So in addition to classroom learning, we want you to have every opportunity to go and develop skills that relate to your field or area of interest, or design a new and innovative project that's contributing to that field, like we talked about at the very beginning. Experiential learning opportunities are available to everyone in every school, in every major, and the vast majority of students report having at least one, if not multiple, experiences of significance, like undergraduate research, like internships, like studying abroad. So experiential learning is kind of a broad term. It might be something that's baked right into the curriculum in your school or program. The School of Engineering offers a first-year course for all incoming engineers called Design Thinking and Communication. It teaches you how to think and communicate like an engineer. And the McCormick School of Engineering is known for its whole brain engineering model, which encourages students to use the technical side of their brain just as much as they are using the creative, artistic side of their brain. So Design Thinking and Communication is a class where in your first quarter on campus, you are working with a small group of peers to solve a design problem for a company or organization in the Chicagoland area. You are actively working on a technical project that's relevant to your area of interest. You're making connections with local companies and folks who will support your career as you continue to build towards that. And you're also earning academic credit for that experience. So that's one way that experiential learning might fit right into an academic plan. You might also pursue an opportunity that's outside of a traditional classroom. So Northwestern offers something called the Bay Area Immersion Program. Out in San Francisco, we have a space called the San Francisco Space. It's a very straightforward title. And the Bay Area Immersion Program brings students together from two of our undergraduate schools, the Medill School of Journalism and the McCormick School of Engineering, to work on relevant and urgent projects related to the intersection of technology and media in their fields. So again, an opportunity to do something that's a little bit different than sitting in a traditional classroom while you're still developing skills and making connections in your industry. We would truly be here all day if I went through the experiential learning opportunities from one school and program to the next. But the key message that I want you to hear is that, again, these are not sort of one-off opportunities limited only to a handful of students in a couple of departments on campus, but this is a central part of the experience here. The issue will not be whether you can pursue an opportunity like that. It will be choosing amongst the many, many opportunities that are available for you to pursue. And in that category is undergraduate research as well. And I think Kandise is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Definitely. And the first thing I like to point out with undergraduate research is that Northwestern allocates $3.5 million every single year for only us undergraduates. So that's not for faculty members, that's not for PhD candidates, there's just for us undergrads. And for me, as a heavily humanities-based major, I really didn't know how research could take a place in my life, but during my 5 years at Northwestern, I've actually been a part of 3 major research projects. My first was in the sociology department with Professor Patillo, analyzing the positive benefits of living in a Black community in Chicago. My second was in the English department, creating copy and writing books for late learning readers in life. So thinking about writing a book that could be read by someone who has a third grade knowledge of reading, but is not necessarily a children's book. And my most recent has been actually for my honors part of my voice major, by creating a multimedia experience through song of exploring the Black female experience. But I think my favorite research opportunity is the Circumnavigators Grant, which is given to one rising senior every year, and they're given the chance to explore one research topic across the world. And I'm fortunate enough to know the past 2 recipients. My friend Hannah, who is a music education and social policy double major, traveled around the world studying how music looks and music education looks across the world and how gender affects that. And my friend Chris, who is a religious studies and voice double major, went around the world studying how Baha'i music looks across the world. And research is one of the many ways that students are able to have an abroad or a study abroad during their time here at Northwestern. Around 40% of students have a traditional study abroad experience, and over half of the Northwestern student body spends some sort of time internationally. Personally, I'm just getting back from this past fall semester, studying abroad in Milan, Italy in a music program. And what's great about studying abroad here at Northwestern is that all of your financial aid will go abroad with you. And as well, we have academic advisors across all the disciplines to make sure that if you're taking classes abroad, you'll be able to get academic credit for them. In fact, my friend Jane, who was a journalism music double major, got to study abroad just during spring break. It was what fit best in her schedule, but she got to intern at the Globe Theater and also get academic credit for that. And students are able to pursue internships, yes, abroad, but a little bit closer to home. Like Val said before, there's oftentimes internship programs that are built into the curriculum of the undergraduate schools. One of a really popular one is within our School of Journalism called the Journalism Residency, where students are able to take a quarter off and work with a real company either in the Chicagoland area or as far as South Africa, working with some sort of broadcasting or media agency. And many of these internship possibilities are given to us through our Northwestern Career Advancement, or NCA for short. And NCA is an office just on the northern side of our campus, and they help undergraduate students maybe brush up their resumes, give them interview techniques. Last year, I lived with 3 roommates, and they gave me a nice, clear room that I could have a video interview with in silence. But what's great about NCA is that they actually work with us Northwestern undergraduates once we join our alumni network, which Val can talk about more.
Yes, happy to talk more about the Alumni Network. As a member of it, I feel I have to acknowledge a little bit of bias here. But I came to Northwestern anticipating working towards a master's degree and then leaving and finding the next thing to do, and thinking of Northwestern fondly as a time where I spent some academic time as a graduate student. And here I am almost 4 years later, giving a YouTube live session to you about how much I love this place and how seriously I think it impacts the lives of the students who come and study here in Evanston. So I'm not alone in that. Our alumni network is extremely proud of who we are as a community, and very committed to supporting especially undergraduate students as they settle into the Northwestern community and then as they build their career beyond it. When you are looking at a college, any college, you're thinking about the 4-year experience, and that makes sense. That's what's right ahead of you. That is rightfully the source of a lot of questions and concerns. But you're choosing a college for a lifetime. And the connections that you make and the community that you find in the alumni network will support you far beyond your undergraduate graduation. And I think that's what we find here. So the Northwestern Career Advancement Office, as Kandise mentioned, does a lot of important work with our students, both as they are preparing for and searching for jobs as undergraduates. And then they stay in touch once they leave, and they give us a lot of important information about how students are existing and working and connecting as alumni. And we know from them just recently, actually, they've released a report giving us an update on where the class of 2019 is now. And much like in past years, the majority of those students, 96%, are either employed in graduate school or pursuing something else productive within 6 months of graduation. So all along here for the past 25 minutes, we've been talking about how you come to Northwestern with this very broad start, right? You come in, you have exposure to 6 undergraduate schools and hundreds of majors and countless experiential learning opportunities. And over the course of your time on campus, you narrow down to a very, very tailored academic and experiential learning path that is yours, that is the perfect fit for your goals and your experiences and your skill set. And that means that when you leave Northwestern, you're not just prepared to get a job, but you're prepared to build a very, very meaningful career that will take you on to the next stage of your life and however you want that next stage of your life to look. So the Alumni Network is a big part of plays a big role, in supporting students as they pursue those goals. The last thing I will say sort of about the Alumni Network is that I think that they are a continued source of engagement for life outside of career prep as well. We have obviously talked a lot about the classroom experiences here. We've talked a lot about job preparation and internships and all of that fun stuff. But so much of the college experience has nothing to do with your future job. It is about the connections that you're making and the spirit that exists on campus. Alumni carry that spirit with them wherever they may be around the world. But the spirit is certainly a central part of what you'll find in Evanston as well. We are going to spend just a little bit of time talking about culture and community today, but I want to let you know that there are so many other resources available to you to learn more about student life, residential life, campus organizations, and things like that. So do feel free to check out the rest of the content on our YouTube channel. There is a wonderful full-length campus tour there and a separate virtual tour on our website that allows you to move at your own pace through campus, and countless different sessions about everything from our favorite food in Evanston to campus orgs and other things like that. So wanted to preface the brief nature of this next part of our session. And now I'll hand it off to Kandise to talk a little bit more about culture and community.
Great, thank you. And like Val was saying, I think one of the most beneficial times in me being at Northwestern is interacting with my friends that I've made here. And I think what I love about Northwestern is that, yes, we have students that are passionate about what they do, but I never feel like I have to compete with my peers or feel like I'm not with a sense of family. And part of that starts with where you physically live on campus. We have an entire video about housing here at Northwestern, but I lived in Willard Residential College and we had lots of different types of events like Midnight Munchies where we would get free coffee and tea, or Thirsty Thursdays where we would get, strike that, reverse it. Midnight Munchies, where we get free food, and Thirsty Thursdays, where we get free coffee and tea. And like I mentioned before, I'm a part of an a cappella group, and here at Northwestern, we have over 500 student orgs, which is a lot. Actually, I don't know if you can see behind me, those are posters from various different productions I've been a part of. But one of my favorite aspects of my time here at Northwestern is being a Posse Scholar, and I serve as a peer counselor for incoming Posse Scholars. And part of my job for that is that I get to introduce Northwestern students to our incoming Posse Scholars to various different Northwestern traditions, and also introduce them to Evanston and Chicago, which make Northwestern feel like home too.
Yes, it is very important to us that our students are not just Northwestern community members, but they are Evanston community members and residents, and they're very deeply engaged in the city that surrounds us. So if you've not been to our physical campus before, if you haven't had a chance to take one of those online tours, our campus is centered right in the heart of the city of Evanston. So we have a long and skinny physical campus. It is surrounded on one side by Lake Michigan and on the other side by downtown Evanston. And so there is great access for you as a student, not only for all of the key resources that you need in our downtown district, the Target, CVS, Chipotle, that seems to be the magic trio, as well as countless other wonderful local restaurants and shops. But the proximity to Evanston is also a benefit in that students are there all the time for internships and service opportunities and other sort of significant engagement with the community beyond the life that they're living on our campus. And then of course, the city of Chicago is also a big benefit to our students. We are just a couple miles north of the Chicago city limits and about 10 or 12 miles north of the downtown district, depending on where you're going. It's a big place, but students are regularly in and out of the city of Chicago. The number of times in a day or week or month will depend entirely on you and how much you want to take advantage of the city. But you'll have the opportunity to be there for everything from class projects to internships to research sites to just taking advantage of the golden ticket that is your student ID, to do everything from get free admission to various museums and historical sites in the city, to joining Northwestern at our night at Wrigley to support the Cubs, if and when we return to going to baseball games someday, which I certainly hope we do. The city is so big and robust and culturally diverse and exciting that I think it's tough to even scratch the surface in 4 years here. But students are certainly encouraged to try, and we do our best to make that as accessible as possible for you. There is a train line, a Chicago public transit line that runs right into the city of Evanston, appropriately called the Purple Line. And then we also have an inter-campus shuttle that is free for students that runs between our Evanston campus and Northwestern's Chicago campus, which is in downtown Chicago and houses our medical school, law school, School of Professional Studies, and a handful of other programs as well. So like we said, take a look at all of the other wonderful resources online to learn a little bit more about who we are as a community, how students are taking advantage of all of those resources. And that's a great place to start to get a sense of how you might spend your time here as a student. For now, in our last couple of minutes before we start opening things up to questions, I want to talk a little bit about admission and financial aid. I know that there's a lot to unpack and that many of you are thinking ahead to the fall when you will start putting together and submitting those college applications. So the first thing I'd like to say is that our admission process is and always has been context-based. And that means that we've always cared more about your story, about the environment in which you've spent high school, about any sort of extenuating factors that might have impacted or shifted your experience in high school. And that is true now more than ever as the COVID situation unfolds. And we know that that has seriously impacted your experience, especially in the past academic term. So know that you will not be at a disadvantage because the last semester or term of your high school experience did not look like any of us predicted that it would. We are very, very good at looking at applications and understanding how those different factors come together to impact what we're seeing on a transcript and the numbers that come to us in the admission process. I say we're very good, and what I mean by that is that that's how we've always approached admission. And so this year is not going to be new for us in the sense that we're not doing that for the first time. We are very, very used to looking at how those different factors fit together and how all the pieces of the application puzzle come together to tell us a story about who you are, what you've accomplished in high school, and what you hope to do in college. So let me talk a little bit about the requirements for admission. And then I want to spend the majority of my time in this section talking about the concept of fit. And why Northwestern and how we think about that when we read applications. So the requirements themselves, if you are a visual person like I am, there is a wonderful section of our website that gives you a bullet point outline of everything that we ask for in the process. But the basic components include the application itself. We accept either the common application or the coalition application, and we don't have a preference for either one. We'll ask you, of course, to send your academic record from high school. So that would be a transcript and a standardized test score, either the SAT or the ACT. And we will ask you to submit 2 letters of recommendation, one from a counselor and one from a teacher. Those are the basics. We know, again, that the situation that's unfolded in the past several months might impact the materials that you had anticipated sending to us this fall. And again, we want you to know that we understand that students might not be able to take those standardized tests as many times as they had anticipated before this started. We understand that you might have started a class with a favorite teacher that got cut off or moved to an online format halfway through the term, and that impacted the amount of time that you had to spend with them or work on a project. Know that we will be considering and thinking about all of that as we are reviewing those materials this year. So when you submit all of those, you are also, of course, writing an application essay that is prompted by the application itself, The standard essay will ask you to choose from a handful of prompts and will give us a sense not only of your writing skills, but also a little bit more personal context and information about who you are. Northwestern also asks for one additional writing sample. It is the answer to the question, why Northwestern? And here's where I'd like to talk a little bit about this idea of fit in college and why we care so much about the answer to that question. So fit is a hard thing to describe. It's probably a term you've heard before, probably not just from Northwestern. And it's a personal thing. I think the reason that it's hard to define is because it's different for every student. It's a combination of very tangible or numeric factors, things like location and costs and size and the availability of the program you want to study. All of those are factors that go into fit. And then there is the side that's a little bit more subjective. It's the question of who are these people who study on this campus? What do they stand for? What do they care about? And are they the kind of people that I want to learn with and from? And at Northwestern, as I said in the beginning, what I hope you learn from us is that there's not one mold that our students fit here on campus. This is not a place where every student cares about the exact same things academically or socially or personally. And that's a really cool thing. Every student here has a unique set of interests and goals. And rather than making our campus feel like a pretty disparate place, instead, I think our students are really tightly knit because of that diversity. They come in and they celebrate one another and the freedom that they have here to explore what they want to explore. So when you're thinking about fit, you're thinking about both those tangible questions and these broader questions about who you want to be as a college student and what you want to accomplish. When we look at the answer then to that question of why you're interested in Northwestern, we're trying to get a sense of how you've thought through that in a matter that's meaningful to you. What is it about this unique place when you look at Northwestern compared to many, many other phenomenal colleges and universities? What is it about Northwestern that really makes you feel like you could thrive here as a student, certainly, but more importantly, as a person who's developing in a holistic way over the course of 4 years? So our admission process, again, is contextual, it is holistic, it does not hinge on a single class or test score or GPA. It looks at all of those pieces of the puzzle and only in the context of your high school, the level of classes that are available for you to pursue there, and the other opportunities that you've been able to take advantage of as well. We also have 2 deadlines or rounds of admission that you can choose from. One is available in the fall. It is called early decision. You may be familiar with that both at Northwestern or elsewhere. Early decision is a binding opportunity to apply to a college or university. You are thinking back to that fit question. You are saying, I've done my research. I know that this is a place where I want to be in the fall and where I really could thrive. And if you apply under an early decision plan, you are committing to enrolling the following fall if you are admitted. Our early decision pool is smaller than our regular decision pool, but the regular decision process, which happens in January, it is our second round of admission. That makes a lot of sense for students who are not quite ready to make that commitment in the fall, and that could be for a variety of reasons. So that's the big difference between the two. That's what you're wanting to think through as you decide when to submit that application and which round to choose. One note that I should have made, because I know we always get questions about it, when you're thinking about all those application materials, I mentioned that we ask for 2 letters of recommendation, one from a counselor and one from a teacher. We're often asked, and I know this is probably popping up in the YouTube chat right now, if other recommendations are allowed, how many we ask for and things like that. You are welcome to submit supplemental letters of recommendation. Many students find that an employer, a mentor, an internship supervisor, a coach, someone who has worked with you in a context that is different from class, has some unique insight to share about you and your abilities and your skill set. It's perfectly fine to ask them to submit a letter as well. We don't have a limit on the number of letters that we will accept or review, but I can say from experience that once you get past 3 or even 4, the letters start to sound a little similar, and that is in no way meant to disparage your recommenders. The fact just is that they want to focus on the qualities that they see most, prevalent in you and on the big things that you've accomplished. And so they start to give us similar information. So my best advice is, if you want to submit a supplemental letter of recommendation, have it be one or maybe two from people who can speak to different aspects of you and your experiences. And I think that those are the key things that I wanted to make sure we touched on when it came to admissions. In our last couple minutes here before questions, let's talk about financial aid. As I mentioned earlier, that's a really significant factor for the vast majority of families. It's something that you think of when you think about fit and the type of place that you want to invest in the long run. And our financial aid policies at Northwestern, we can get into the details. Again, they're really well outlined online. The cost of attendance, scholarship, and financial aid information is all available there. But let me give you two of the most important things to know about how we approach financial aid. One is that our financial aid process is entirely need-based. So when we award financial aid to students, it is given entirely on the basis of family need or financial status. The way we determine that is that your family applies for financial aid by using the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and a supplementary document called the CSS profile. Those two forms together give us what we call an expected family contribution. So you have a set amount that your family is expected to contribute to college. Northwestern covers the difference between the expected family contribution and the total cost of attendance. And when we do so, the other big important piece of our puzzle to know is that we have a loan-free financial aid policy. So when we fill that gap, we do not rely on undergraduate student loans to do so. We are also a need-blind institution for domestic students, which means that whether or not you apply for financial aid does not have a bearing on our admission process. They are completely separate. I'm going to take a breath. I've been talking for a long time at you. There is a lot of info to dig through when it comes to admission and financial aid. Let's start with questions now. And I think if there are key things that I missed, that they will come up. Let's see here. Kandise, I'm going to throw it to you first and ask you, what was the most important reason why you chose Northwestern?
Most definitely. So for me, coming from the West Coast, when I first heard about Northwestern, I assumed, okay, Northwest is probably in the Washington State, Oregon area. So the fact that all of you are in this virtual session shows that you're doing more research than I was doing. But once I eventually went on Wikipedia and started doing my research about Northwestern, initially what struck me was the dual degree program. As I said before, I knew that I wanted to study both creative writing and opera. And Northwestern was one of the few schools, if not really the only school, that allowed me to study both of those passions at the same caliber. I didn't want to, be an opera major, but kind of have an English major or vice versa. I think now that I've come to Northwestern, and something that has surprised me since coming here, is that Northwestern truly is a jack of all trades, a master of all. Every time I go into taking a new distribution course, I find myself working with a professor in the top of their field that is very engaged about what they're doing. And I've been able to spread my area of expertise just through the academic system here at Northwestern.
Thanks, Kandise. And I will take the next one, which is, do you apply directly to a certain college? The answer is yes. So when you apply for admission to Northwestern, you do choose one of those 6 undergraduate schools to apply to. Other than the Beanan School of Music, which requires a music audition, the process and the requirements are exactly the same for the other undergraduate schools. And we don't see a statistically different outcome in the admission rates for those undergraduate schools. So our advice truly is to select the school that is of most interest to you when you apply. You can apply as an undecided major to the College of Arts and Sciences, the School of Engineering, or the School of Education and Social Policy. And again, there is no disadvantage to doing so. Most of our students come in as undecided majors. Once you get to campus, if you change your mind, if you explore and you decide that another school is a better fit for you, there is typically the flexibility to transfer from one school to the next. Kandise, one for you now. What are the large school events or traditions that you love when you are on campus?
So my favorite tradition happens during Wildcat Welcome, which is our first year in transfer orientation for incoming students. And there's lots of traditions that happen during that, but my favorite is all the incoming students are on campus for our first home game for football, and all of the incoming students will run across the football field all wearing their purple shirts. And actually, for my incoming class, the Wildcat Welcome of 2015, we actually set the record of the fastest time running across the football field. I haven't checked to see if anyone's beat it, but at that time we were the best, and I like to hold on to that.
As you should. That's a pretty big accomplishment. My favorite large tradition is the primal scream, which is when all students identify a time before finals that they pause whatever they're doing, wherever they are on campus, and they scream to let out, the burst of energy and intensity that you feel as you're preparing for finals. It is both hilarious and terrifying if you don't know that it is a tradition on campus. So I've looped you in, and hopefully if you come to Northwestern, you will not be shocked by that in your first quarter. What is the largest class size and what is the average class size is also a good question. Kandise, do you want to take this one and share a little bit about class and engagement with faculty?
Definitely. I don't know the number of students in this class, but I do know that the largest course is actually our Intro to Russian Literature course. It's definitely in the hundreds of students that take it, and it's always packed in. And I think that just kind of goes to show that the intellectual curiosity that Northwestern students have, that a lot of students want to take a course that may not necessarily be offered in their high school. For me, the largest course I've taken would either have to be my Marriage 101 class that was capped off at 190 students. But like I said before, we had those separate discussion sections that ended up kind of just being like mini therapy. And as well, I also took an Intro to Islam class, and that was 110 students. So that's on the largest end, but during my time here at Northwestern, I've taken easily, I'm not a math major, but 12 times 5, a lot of classes. And I can only think of really 4 classes that I've taken that had even more than 40 students in them.
Yeah, I'm laughing because basic skills like math have escaped me during this shelter at home, this shelter in place period. Yes, broadly across the campus, only 3% of our classes have more than 100 students in them, and 80% have fewer than 20. And again, I think Kandise mentioned earlier that we have a 6-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So that small class and academic environment in the context of a large Big Ten university is a unique combination that we really try hard to prioritize. And this is actually a really good lead into another question that's popped up. So again, Kandise, I'm going to ask for your firsthand insight on this one. Would you consider your professors to be your friends? How involved are they with teaching versus research and everything else that they have going on?
See, it's funny, you couldn't see my face when Val was reading that question. I just immediately went, oh, yes. In fact, that professor I mentioned before that I did research with, Professor Patillo, I was recently elected into an honor society, and she was the first person to send me an email sending me a congratulations. And I took a course with her in the fall of 2015. The faculty members, I think that they are heavily engaged in what they do, and they just want to share what they love. So whether it's meeting up with my poetry professor in a coffee shop to go over a poem of mine that's not really good, or meeting up at a local tavern with Bill Savage to talk about the history of the Chicago hot dog, these professors really want to get to know students, and it's very easy to have these one-on-one relationships with faculty members.
I do not know the history of the Chicago hot dog, and maybe I should. So Kandise, you can fill me in on that later. Another question that's come up is about our undergraduate business program. We do have a business program that undergraduate students can apply for while at Northwestern. It is a certificate. So the Kellogg School of Management, our Northwestern's business school, offers these 2 certificate programs, financial economics and managerial analytics, that students can apply to in addition to whatever major they are pursuing. So the decision not to have an undergraduate business major really gets back to this idea that a liberal arts education allows you to build a program that's the right fit for your skills. And when you think about business, the preparation that a student who wants to go into consulting might need is different in some ways from the preparation that a student who is an entrepreneur and wants to start a business right out of college might need. And so there are ample opportunities to pursue a preparatory business curriculum here. And the majority of our students, the number one sort of largest sector that alumni work in is business, but we know that that's a broad term. So a very common path at Northwestern is to come in as an economics major and then combine that economics major with these specialty programs that allow you to really build that personal experience. The Kellogg certificates are a great example of that. And then programs that might not come to mind right away, but that are still great opportunities. Learning and organizational change, which is a major in the School of Education and Social Policy, is excellent preparation for a career in business, as are things like the Integrated Marketing and Communications program in the School of Journalism, which prepares students for that marketing and communication experience after graduation. I believe that we've posted a link to the Roads to Business website in the YouTube chat, which is a great resource to get a sense of all the different paths and programs that support your interest in business. And I think we're coming up on the end of our time here, but I want to pose one final question. This is going to be for Kandise, who can share again that great first-hand student insight with us. How do Northwestern students balance work and academics with recreation and fun as they pursue this undergraduate experience?
Definitely. I think for me, I've kind of always tried to operate on a rule of 3 for any given quarter that I'm doing. So on top of any academic commitments I have, I will only take on 3 additional extracurriculars. So let's say for last quarter, it would be being a part of an opera production and being a part of an a cappella group. I decided just to do 2. That's one thing that kind of helps you keep sane. But in general, I think it's really just fostered in the academic community of, on an average day, I'll have maybe 2 to 3 hours of classes, ideally with some breaks in between. Taking maybe an hour to 2 hours of doing some homework. But as you know, there's 24 hours in a day and you should sleep 8 hours, but that still leaves a lot of time to maybe get brunch with friends during the weekend or going to a football game. So you have that flexibility of being able to go to, say, a football game in the early afternoon on a Saturday, going to the library for a few hours, and then hanging out with some friends later that evening and maybe going to a show on campus.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think Northwestern appeals to a lot of students because of that balance, because it's a place where you can come and have a really innovative, really high level academic experience. And you can also be at the football games on Saturdays. And you can also take full advantage of a fine arts scene, even if you're not a fine arts major. And is sort of the key word. And much like the word interdisciplinary that I kicked us off with, and is a word that you'll hear quite a bit as you think about the different experiences that exist on Northwestern's campus. So our time has come to a close here today. I know that there are so many more questions than just what we could cover in this short session. So please do feel free to take advantage of all of the other resources on YouTube, on Northwestern's website. Make good use of that search bar for everything from AP credit transfer policies to the lists of classes in the chemistry department. It is all there for you. And of course, our staff is as well. So if you have more specific questions, particularly about the admission process that we didn't get to today, ug-admission@northwestern.edu is the best way to reach us. Thank you so much for listening. We can't wait for the day when we can welcome you back to campus in person, but for now it's fun to connect with you here on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great Saturday and stay healthy, everyone. Bye-bye.